old saying about making assumptions and what happens when you do that. And, that definitely gets amplified in the world of college football in the month of November because, well, quite frankly, chaos just happens. And when you assume a group of 18 to 22-year-olds will just go out and execute and do what they're supposed to do, well, things can tend to backfire on you, and you could be sitting there on late Saturday afternoon, early Sunday morning with egg on your face after a prediction. We'll get to more of what I'm talking about and hinting at there in just a few minutes, but this is College Football Tailgate, our Week 12 recap and reaction show. I'm Dan Watkins, John McKechnie. With me, as always, John, another just incredible week of college football in the books.
The best. So good. Every window I thought brought it for the most part. Maybe the night slate was like a little bit like, but who cares about that? I mean, BYU took care of business, so that was kind of like a nice you can go to bed now. Type of game against TCU, but the noon slate was wild. The afternoon slate, obviously, with the Alabama-Oklahoma game, the Georgia Tech-BC game, and then nighttime with Georgia Texas and Florida Ole Miss. We had wall-to-wall good stuff. It was crazy all Saturday long. I loved it.
It was incredible. Before we get into some of these game recaps and all that kind of stuff, just want to say thank you very much for watching. If you are, make sure you are subscribed. Hit that subscribe button there on your screen. It doesn't cost you anything. It's completely free. We are College Football Tailgate. You can find us at that handle, at College Football Tailgate, on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Doesn't cost you a thing. It just helps John and I as we continue to do this show and build this show and keep going here. We do 2 shows a week, usually Monday, Thursday. Going to probably get a little wonky here with the holidays starting to come up and all that kind of stuff, but still, we're going to do our best to get out 2 shows a week for you guys. You can follow us on Twitter at CFB Tailgate 25, and you can follow us also on TikTok at CFB Tailgate, and that's where all the real fun is. All right, so without further ado, John, I've been waiting to talk to you about this game and what happened in Tuscaloosa since Saturday afternoon when it happened. And we've been texting back and forth about this, but got a lot of things to get off my chest here. And let's just start with Oklahoma goes into Tuscaloosa. They beat Alabama 23-21. I think you can boil this game down to one thing: turnovers. Oklahoma wins the turnover battle 3-0. They score 17 points off of turnovers there, including the big pick 6. Oklahoma's defense made plays when it mattered. They frustrated Ty Simpson. Simpson still had if you look at just the box score, he still had a pretty decent day, throwing for over 300 yards. But Oklahoma just making those clutch plays, the pick 6, the block field goal, that big punt return by Satanga, the pass breakup on the final 4th down play of the game there too. Just Oklahoma made the clutch plays. Alabama didn't. What are your thoughts and your takeaways from this game?
Well, it was sort of it was like a real come to terms with who both these teams are. And we were talking about it last week, and both of our expectations were that Oklahoma, great defense, but what they're great at in particular may not match up extremely well with what Alabama is good at on offense. But ultimately, it did matter because when you have a guy like Brent Venables who can prepare for this game, and you have an Alabama team that is unable to run the ball, you can just kind of go ahead and roll coverage and throw stuff out there, throw different looks, zones, disguise coverages, what have you, and just really sit back and lean on your pass defense. And it was particularly impressive also because Oklahoma, I believe, was missing that R. Thomas guy up front, who's been one of their best defensive line pass rushers on the year. But OU just kind of took it to them. I did note late in the week when we posted our clip of the preview that it was like, well, Ty Simpson is not a mobile quarterback. That's a problem for Alabama against this Oklahoma pass rush. And I sort of poo-pooed it because I just thought that Alabama would get the quick game going and then slow down the pass rush and then, hit them with the kill shots. But that ultimately didn't happen. They just got after Simpson pretty much all afternoon. If they weren't hitting him, they were confusing him, and he was off his spot for the most part. And, yeah, also going into it, we talked about the turnover margin and how Oklahoma had kind of arguably been a little bit unlucky in some sense as far as like their lack of takeaways, and Bama had been lucky with just 6 turnovers on the entire season going into Saturday. The regression monster in that front came in a pretty significant way here again, because turnovers really did kind of tell the story of this game and broke it in Oklahoma's direction. So that was just I did not expect that, but I mean, credit to OU. I mean, it does give credence to the idea that a great defense can bait a great offense, and that's what we saw on Saturday.
Yeah, Oklahoma's defensive line was incredible. They were the story of this game, the pressure that they constantly had there, being able to force those turnovers. But when I look at if these two teams met again this week and the same line was posted out there, Alabama minus 5.5, I'd take Alabama again. Like, that felt like just a one-off, a 1-in-100 type of victory there for Oklahoma. And yes, Sooners fans, you won. I fully understand you won. Credit to you. You guys won that game on Saturday afternoon. But when you look at what happened in this game and you look at post-game win expectancy from Bill Connolly and all the other different metrics and stuff like that, this might have been the luckiest win of the season for Oklahoma. Just going through a couple of the things here. Bama nearly outgained them 2-1. I think it was 406 to 212 was the final there. Ty Simpson throws for over 300 yards. If you told me that Saturday morning, I would have felt great about my bet on Saturday afternoon. The play calling for Alabama in this one, especially in the second half, was very suspect. John, I went back and looked. So Alabama takes the lead. They scored their final touchdown midway through the third quarter to go up 21-20. The next four drives, the final four drives for Alabama in this game, 3-and-out punt, fumble, 3-and-out punt, and then that turnover on downs to end the game. 4 drives, 24 plays there, 13 run plays for an offense that just can't run the football. Now, I know Simpson's under duress, but I did not like that play calling from Ryan Grubb and Kalen DeBoer down the stretch there. It just felt to me like Alabama was just resting on their laurels, just we're Alabama. We're at home. We've won 17 games in a row at home. We're going to eventually just win this game. It's just going to happen. And it kind of started to feel that way a little bit on that final drive, but Oklahoma clamps down one last time and forces that incompletion on fourth down.
Yeah, I was most worried. The worst case scenario for me would have been Alabama scoring a touchdown there and winning by 5 points. That would have, because I don't think anyone that listens to this show would be surprised by this, but I hate Alabama with all of my being. So I did not want them to win. I wanted the Sooners to win, but from a professional standpoint, from this podcast, I didn't want to look as wrong as I did. But we were coming into a spot there where it's I looked wrong for most of the day, and then Alabama still escapes with the win. So if nothing else, even though we're taking the L as a show as far as our prediction goes, I can take solace in the fact that I can be wrong, but it happens with an Alabama loss that I think exposes some pretty big flaws for them here going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about Oklahoma here going forward. Are you buying stock in on the Sooners now? So they're minus 220 to make the playoffs on DraftKings, plus 180 to miss the playoff right now. They've vaulted up the AP rankings into the top 10. They're going to probably do the same on the playoff committee rankings on Tuesday night here. I'm not fully ready to buy in on the Sooners as a legit contender in the playoff. If they even get there, they still got 2 very tough games against Mizzou and LSU, both those games in Norman. But the Oklahoma offense is just, it's not very good. He's hurt. I'm sorry. He is clearly banged up. Still has not gone over 225 passing yards since coming back from that injury. Oklahoma, here, I got it written down here on this piece of paper. They had 212 yards on offense Saturday. That is the fewest in a win for Oklahoma since 2001. Okay? They had one drive on Saturday that went over 40 yards, and it went 41. And they got a field goal on that drive. This offense, Mateer did make a big throw late in the fourth quarter there to pick up a first down and move the chains, but I got too many concerns about this offense that, if we go back to this Oklahoma's not forcing turnovers thing that we saw for a good portion of this season, 70% of it until these last 2 weeks, if someone gets a 2-touchdown lead or a 10-point lead on Oklahoma, they're not coming back. I'm sorry. So I'm out on the Sooners as a legit contender. They might get into the playoff, but I think they're going to be one and done if they do.
I think so too. I think they're going to get in. I do. I think that both those games being at home against Mizzou and whatever's left of LSU at that point at the end of the season, they should win both of those games. I imagine they'll be favored in both of those games. But yeah, the offense does not move me whatsoever. They're going to have to win with defense, and I think you run into a team with a great offense that does have a semblance of a pulse in the run game in the CFP. You're in trouble. Like I want to draw the parallel to like Tennessee last year as far as like their playoff fate is concerned. You know, they don't make the SEC championship game. They get in as like the 9 seed. I don't think what would happen to them would look like what Ohio State did to Tennessee, but one and done for the Sooners, I think feels like the official show prediction right now for the Sooners.
Yeah, I co-sign on that. That's how I feel about them right now. It's just I got too many questions about the offense. Now, could Mateer all of a sudden magically get healthy here these next couple of weeks and look like the guy from September? Maybe, but I don't know. Don't feel good. And also, I'm looking at that Mizzou game this weekend, John. Now we got little rumblings. Bo Perbula could be coming back, and that could be really interesting here. Because we know he can move with his legs, and Ahmad Hardy kind of starting to heat up a little bit too for Mizzou. That line's sitting at 9.5. If we could cross 10, I'm all over that.
Yeah, Hardy, a sneaky 300 against Miss State this weekend. Not bad.
Yeah, not bad at all. All right, now let's talk about Alabama going forward here. I got to be pretty – if I'm a Crimson Tide fan, man, I got to be pretty nervous. Yeah, you got Cupcake Weekend here coming up against Eastern Illinois. Ridiculous how the SEC does this, by the way. I'll just throw that out there, that like everybody's playing a total cupcake this weekend to get ready for the rivalry games next week. But with that being said, Iron Bowl at Jordan-Hare, Alabama needs to win that game to punch their ticket to go to the SEC championship game. They lose, season's over, I think, if Alabama's 9-3, if they fall down the stretch here like this. But like, we know things get freaky at Jordan-Hare Stadium in the Iron Bowl. I looked ahead. The look-ahead line is up right now. It's only 6.5. I wish it was over a touchdown, but like, you got to be nervous. I think if you're an Alabama fan right now with how things are going.
Absolutely. I mean, the line last week against Oklahoma should have, like, I guess, made you nervous in hindsight with them only being a 5.5 point favorite. You'd have been like, Oklahoma, really? Like, I think Alabama's gonna. I would have set that line, at least 7.5, something like that. So, yeah, only 6.5 against Auburn? Against Auburn? The team that fired their coach mid-season because they're so bad, Auburn? The problem is we now – blueprint is a tricky concept to, like apply in a concrete way. Like, this is how you beat Alabama. But I do think a team with the defensive talent, especially up front, to kind of create some pressure, create some havoc, and then some talent on the back end, it does create problems for this Alabama team that simply can't run the ball, and it's not going to get better, I don't think. And so you look at the potential opponents ahead for Alabama once you get past, of course, Eastern Illinois. It's Auburn, it's A&M if they beat Auburn, and then if they lose, they're probably out. If they're in, you probably play someone like maybe like a Texas Tech or an Oregon. Like those are teams with defenses that got to make you wince a little bit if you're Alabama. So that when you know that teams can get away with just having 6 in the box and dropping 5 like every single time, or even more, like we saw Simpson just kind of not know what to do with the ball, not know where to go with it, and that's a problem. And I think Auburn can present those issues, and it seems like even though Auburn gave up a bunch of points to Vanderbilt their last time out, I think that defense is really nasty. I think that defense, before that game, hadn't given up more than 24 points, right, as you astutely pointed out. So you think that they're going to be, in bad shape against Alabama in the last game of the year with a chance to spoil their whole season? I think not. And I think that their offense actually showed something against Vanderbilt, although it was against Vanderbilt. So Auburn, with the potential to score into the low 20s the way that Oklahoma did, that's a problem for Alabama here. So I think that there's a real shot right now. I didn't see if it was posted the yes/no playoff odds for Alabama, but I think that that's a really, really dangerous, like one of the more dangerous games that Alabama's had to walk into in Jordan-Hare in some time. The only one that really comes to mind for me, well, I guess the Bryce Young year they needed some luck in that one. Then, of course, the Jalen Milroe crazy one in 2023. So it's not been easy for Alabama going in there. And I think that this year, especially with Alabama's kind of monochromatic limitations, this could be the season ender for them. I know I don't want to waste too much on what we're going to be talking about next week, but that Auburn game really scares me if I'm an Alabama fan.
So I'm looking at DraftKings right now. Alabama to miss the college football playoff plus 205. Not a bad little payout there if you think Auburn can pull off that victory next week and knock the Tide out of the SEC championship game.
I'm gonna have to take that. I think I'm gonna get up to Maryland before that game kicks off. I assume that those odds won't really change much in light of whatever happens this weekend against Eastern Illinois. So I'll have time to get that in. I'll probably do a little Alabama to miss the playoff, and I'll probably do a little Auburn money line as well, which I'm sure has even better odds. So that's where I'm at right now. A 3-loss Alabama, I don't think gets in with like what I'm expecting to be kind of like a pile of 10-2 teams here as we finish the season.
So I'm glad you bring that up. The committee's now got to pick up the pieces after this loss by Alabama. The AP dropped the Tide down to number 10. They put them behind Notre Dame. Do you think the playoff committee does the same? I don't. I think they're going to leave Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame might fall a spot this week with how good they looked, which is a little wild. But just we're about to enter this gigantic logjam of 10-2 teams, as you mentioned. Obviously, you got to put Oklahoma ahead of Alabama now after what just happened 48 hours ago. So I think the Tide are going to slide in there right around 9 probably. It's going to, because I still think the committee's going to hold that win at Georgia, I think, is like Alabama's trump card right now with why we have them where we do and why we put them ahead of Notre Dame. But I think that's going to be the drop, probably 4-9 there for the Tide.
Yeah, not 9 or 10. So that is the inflection point. I think the head-to-head loss to OU obviously will put them behind Oklahoma. So then we get into a little bit of resume look, and like Notre Dame has better losses, against A&M and against Miami, but Alabama does have a better win on its resume in beating Georgia and beating Missouri, on both of those on the road, beating Vanderbilt as well. So the wins, I think, could probably carry Alabama to have the better spot right now. But again, I just think it's all going to come down to the Iron Bowl when it comes to this Tide team and their ability to make the playoff.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun to watch next week. Cannot wait for that one. But we have plenty to get through here when it comes to our Week 12 recap. So let's head to Athens, Georgia. Georgia 35, Texas 10. John, we talked about this game might come down to trust between the two quarterbacks and which quarterback was going to step up. And if you watch this game for even, 5 minutes, you saw one quarterback step up time and time again, and the other one just looking all sorts of off. I'm talking about Gunnar Stockton looking far superior to Arch Manning in this one. Gunnar going 24 of 29, 229 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, an interception, adding 29 rushing yards. Arch Manning just looking flustered, confused, kind of miserable all night long. He's doing this weird sidearm thing again that he was doing a couple of weeks ago, almost like he regressed from all the positive signs that we saw from him the past couple of games against Mississippi State and Vanderbilt. But if I'm you and I'm a Georgia fan, I got to be through the roof right now with the way that defense played on Saturday night, and it looks like the Bulldogs are peaking at the right time.
So the Ole Miss win was like more thrilling, but the Texas game more satisfying because Texas, y'all are loud. Y'all are on the internet acting like last year didn't happen or even this year didn't happen. It was all Texas is going belt to ass on y'all all week. Texas is going to destroy Georgia. Texas is going to do this, that, and the other.
That Georgia's one guy in our TikTok comments was incredible.
Oh, that guy's nuts.
He was, like that is just blind love and loyalty to your team, and like that was incredible.
So, interesting game. Georgia comes out, scores I think on their first 2 drives, make it 14-0, and then I will give credit to the Texas defense. Like they settled in for a bit there. Like they had the Georgia offense punting, I think, on 3 or 4 consecutive possessions. Like Georgia was kind of stuck in the mud offensively. Bobo, I thought, was a little bit off his game in late second quarter, early third quarter, and like late second, early third, like that middle 8 is kind of how they kind of put Miss State to bed last week. Obviously, different team going up against Texas, but Texas definitely, like they were holding their own there for a while, but then the levee broke. Georgia scores that touchdown. They get the onside kick. The touchdown came on, a couple of crazy fourth down conversions, like really just sort of trying to snatch the game, just deciding that this is the sequence right here to do it and executing. And then, of course, again, the onside kick, who, go figure, recovered by Cash Jones, every Georgia fan's favorite guy in the world, and probably every other opposing team's favorite Georgia player, because it's always very confusing as to why he has such a third down role that he does. But regardless, the prevailing thought, seemingly from Texas coming out of that game, is we didn't get outplayed, we didn't get out-talented, but we did get out-coached. You got out-coached, that's true. Good for you for admitting that. You did also get outplayed. Maybe Georgia and Texas have like a very similar, equal talent level. That's fine, but I think that makes it more frustrating for Texas in that case. If your players are just as good and yet they perform that much worse, that's got to make you feel sick to your stomach. That Georgia is just such a more well-built operation that doesn't wince and flinch in these big spots, whereas Texas absolutely did. The Texas receivers were dropping everything. They were getting penalties left and right as well. And I know Texas was sort of like preambling this game, like, oh, the SEC refs are wearing Georgia underwear and this and that. Well, like, was there a single like soft penalty that went against Texas? I think there was only one by my count. There was a defensive holding that I thought was a little bit ticky-tack there in the red zone that set up a touchdown. But other than that, you watch the replays and it's just really blatant holds, blatant false starts, this and that. So like they were really undisciplined. And I thought that Michael Taff, after the game, the Texas, I think, defensive captain, I thought what he was saying was embarrassing. He's like, they're not big bad Georgia. Like, we just we let down and it's just a couple of series. It's like, brother, that's all it takes. Georgia was about to steal your soul, take the game from you, and they did. You just let them do it, and you're on defense and you let that happen. That's a problem for you, pal. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like that's loser talk, I thought, from Michael Taft there. So ultimately, feels good to get that win if you're a Georgia fan like I am. I know that I'm probably sounding obnoxious at this point, but man, I mean, Texas couldn't run the ball. Arch looked rattled. Georgia's defense, even with C.J. Allen going out, like they played really tough, really just kind of out-physical Texas pretty much throughout the entire game. Really, if anything, like Texas kept it close for about 5 minutes, and then otherwise I thought it was Georgia pretty much the whole way.
Yeah, so those comments by Taft there that you were just referencing, I mean, it speaks, I think, to the larger thing here that just, like, Georgia's in Texas's head. Like, we talked a little bit about this last week leading into this game, like the boogeyman factor, and that Georgia seems to have that against Texas right now. Yeah, Texas runs for just 23 yards in this game. Georgia holds them to 1.7 yards per carry with their best linebacker missing a good chunk of this game. That C.J. Allen injury, definitely something to monitor going forward there for the Dogs. What was this? 3 times they've met now in the last 14 months. And I think Texas has less than 90 yards total rushing. That's 90 right. Rushing yards total in those 3 games. So just incredible stuff there from the Georgia defense. Like, they were awesome. In Texas, too, 1 touchdown drive was a short field. It was 36 yards, and that came off of the Stockton interception there. So, like, it's just going to show there, too, like, with Texas, when they have to rely on Arch Manning to do everything, things aren't going to go right for them. And that's just how it's been this season. Now 3 big-time road games for them, 0-3 in those games. Ohio State, Florida, Georgia, all on the road, all losses. And now Texas needs a lot of help there. They got to beat A&M in a couple of weeks. They got a very, very frisky and pesky Arkansas team coming up here in Week 13 as well.
One key detail on losing all those road games, too. Texas had extra time to prepare in each of those. So,
yep.
The outcoached thing, I think that is true. I don't know what you do about that, though, because you're Texas. Like, you have all the resources. Like, Sark is a good coach, but he seems to not have it but for the big games. And I thought their special teams coach, he was losing his dang mind out there. Like after they had like a 54-yard kick return that got called back for a hold or a block in the back, he was losing his mind. Like he seemed like he was totally out of sorts, and I'm sure that he's like one of the highest paid special teams coaches in the country. And I'm sure their defense is good still, but the offense it's just Arch isn't it. I think, and they're just going to have to deal with that, I guess, for the next year. So I feel like you got to be miserable if you're Texas, because politically you're attached to this kid and he's not leaving after this year. So you're going to have the red dot that Arch was talking about on you every single week for the next year. And I don't think it's going to go particularly well.
Yeah, and I don't know what they have coming in as far as offensive line recruits for next year, but they really need to upgrade that unit next year in 2026 and become better at running the ball compared to what they've been this season, because it's been rough, and they got to take some off of Arch's plate that way. But on the other side, John, when it comes to Georgia, this win does kind of set up this weird 2025 scenario that we're living in now, right? Where Georgia's pretty much locked into a playoff spot, but they don't control their destiny to get to Atlanta for the SEC championship game. And I got to ask you, because we just saw Ohio State last year miss the Big Ten championship game and then go buzzsaw mode and win the national title. How do you feel as a Georgia fan? Do you want to get to that SEC championship game? Do you want to just take it all? Like I need it all. I need the conference title. I need the national championship. Or are you just like, I'm cool. Let's rest up. Let's get, a couple of weeks of rest, and then we're going to get a home playoff game, and then we can go from there.
I'm zen on it because I think like
it's not like, and it's like you have so many of them too already, right? Like you got a couple SEC titles. Like, do you need another one this year, or is it more important that you get into the playoff rested and ready to go there going forward?
Right, and also have the home game, because if you win the SEC,
too.
like you're going to be playing at a neutral site in the next round.
Yeah, what happened there last year?
No, nothing good for my guys. But I'm not even.
No, I remember it.
I swear, I'm not mad. Okay, so resetting the table here. So if Georgia goes to the SEC championship game, that means that one of Texas A&M or Alabama lost. If Alabama lost, that means that they're out of the playoff, and therefore I will be happy to.
Oh, you're bringing the third angle in here, like all the roads converging there at the roundabout.
Yeah. So my disdain for Alabama, I think, not only colored my opinion of their game against Oklahoma and my fear of them, that they've broken my brain. But yeah, if they can be out of the playoff again in a 12-team era for the second year in a row, I'm cool with that. But playing Alabama again would be kind of my worst nightmare, because then you get probably a second straight loss to them in the same season, and then you play that extra game with nothing to show for it. You don't win the SEC, and then you have to, go and get ready for the college football playoff. So ultimately, I'm good with it. Like if Bama and A&M take care of business, great. I think that is objectively the best possible outcome for Georgia, and that they get one of the high seeds, home game, maybe play the 12 seed type of thing. That's great. But if they have to play in the SEC championship game, I would guess I'd prefer it to be against A&M. I think that A&M, as we saw this past weekend, might not be invincible.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, I don't know. I think I'd rather have the rest there, get those couple of weeks off, get right, everybody heal up, and then be ready to go there, get that home playoff game, as you mentioned, too. I think that might be the better path there, instead of that extra game against either a really tough A&M team or whoever it is at this point. But anyways, do you have another thought there before we keep going?
Yeah, it's champagne problems. I think
you
got to be good with it
First
either
world.
way. But I do think most Georgia fans, if you gave them truth serum right now, would say that they prefer Alabama and A&M to just take care of business so that Georgia can be out of the SEC championship game, get that extra time to prepare.
Fair enough. All right, moving on. We got a lot to get to. We're still cooking here. Let's keep
these
going.
These are huge games, man. Like you can't shortchange them.
No, you cannot. You absolutely cannot. Let's keep moving. The day started off at noon with Notre Dame beating Pitt 37-15. John, I loved what I saw from the Irish Saturday afternoon in Pittsburgh. Like, I loved the way Marcus Freeman handled Narduzzi after his comments last week, and it just kind of felt like Pitt was not fully ready to go, and maybe their head coach kind of planted that seed in their head with his comments about getting beat by 100 and it not mattering because all that matters is the 2 ACC games going forward there. But I felt coming out of this game that Notre Dame played their like B- game and still looked dominant here. Like, they ran for 175 yards, nearly 5 yards per carry against the number 3 run defense in the country, allegedly, according to the stats there. And then defensively, too, they hold Mason Heinschel, who had been putting 300 on everyone, to 16 of 33, 126 yards, and an interception there. Like, I'm not ready to say I full on trust Chris Ash, and I take back the things I said about him in the month of September, but like, I was impressed. I thought that was pretty good what they did and the way they clamped down that Pittsburgh offense there. And Notre Dame, their resume is pretty much all but complete here. They can only hurt it at this point forward. They picked up some style points, I thought, over the weekend there against Pitt. But like, that resume is like, it's in the envelope. It has been licked, stamped. They're on their way walking it to the mailbox to send that final thing to the committee for their application for the playoff.
Yeah, there's nothing left on this schedule that really is going to impress the committee. You can only damage it, but I don't expect Notre Dame to. So I think that they will enter conference championship weekend just chilling, having rattled off 10 straight wins. I think that's a testament to this team's resolve and their ability to get off the mat after a less than ideal start that, like you said, was in a lot of ways the fault of Chris Ash and the defense. The defense, I think, continues to look better each and every week. I was talking to my friend and listener of the show after the game on Saturday, and he made a point that I noticed, but I didn't really put it together. It didn't really crystallize for me. But so that first Pitt drive, when it was like third down, and Heinschel puts it right on number 3, but Schuler basically took his soul in the process, just knocked him into next week, and that kind of set the tone, right? Like, from there, Pitt was operating with a bunch of Todd Pinkstons out there. Like, they did not want to go over the middle. They did not want any of the smoke, and therefore, Pitt's just totally hamstrung at that point as far as what they can do offensively, because they're not going to get separation on those corners and on the safeties, and so it's going to have to be like Heinschel playing hero ball, and he's not quite ready to do that yet. I'm a believer in him for next year. Like, it'll probably be annoying, like how much people are talking about like big programs that need a quarterback. Go get him, like go give him all the money in the world type of thing. But definitely not ready right now. Not against this Notre Dame defense. They knocked him into next week. And Jeremiah Love, for him to be able to do what he did against this Pitt rush defense, I thought was super impressive. One other thing my buddy noted, and I do want to get your thought on this, not the sharpest day from Carr, in his opinion. Did you have anything to kind of like ruminate there?
I mean, that's pretty much why I said Notre Dame played their B- game here and won. And CJ Carr, you're going to have those freshman moments. We've seen it. There was that horrible interception he had against USC a few weeks ago. We've seen some bad throws from him in the past. But for the most part, CJ Carr's been really good, and I can't really pick on him too much. Like, you just kind of got to go with it. Like, kind of like bite your tongue and go with it going forward here, because I don't think you're going to learn anything more about him against Syracuse or Stanford the next 2 weeks. And then hopefully you get into the playoff here at 10-2, and you're going to have to see him go on the road, because I don't think there's really any chance that Notre Dame has a home playoff game at this point with their record and how it is. I'm not overly worried, just because, I mean, the Notre Dame pass-catching group is so much deeper than I thought it was going to be going into the season. Like, they're legit, 4 or 5 deep at wide receiver. And then you got the tight end, too, and Reardon, and you got those 2 backs out of the backfield that are awesome. And Notre Dame's shown that they can run the ball on anybody, and now that the defense is playing better, they're going to be able to clamp down on some teams, too. So I'm not overly concerned about CJ Carr. I'm just going to chop it up to just, freshman and road environment, and that's kind of what happens there too. But Carr did bounce back. The one thing about CJ Carr that I do like a lot is that he very short-term memory with him. He quickly moves on to the next play. We saw that great Riley Leonard style rushing touchdown there towards the end of the game from him too. So he is a gamer, and I like that about him a lot. But yeah, a couple mistakes here and there, but I'm not overly concerned at this point.
Yeah, and I think what I like about that when it comes to Carr, like you could tell that in the Miami game, even like when he started bringing y'all back, like that was his first start, and like things weren't going great, but like he kind of buckled in when he absolutely needed to, and made that a really close game there. And I think that this past week, like first year starter, you can't expect it to all click all the time. So I think you can excuse that type of performance, and I think if anything, you get these next two games to kind of build his confidence back up going into the playoff.
Yeah, absolutely. And how you were talking about setting the tone right from the opening drive. I don't know if you were watching Game Day at all Saturday morning, but they kept having the bus shot of Notre Dame and them riding on the bus. Those dudes were so locked in for this. And just once again, credit to Marcus Freeman, who's got his team ready to go. And they are absolutely locked in at this point. It's just hopefully everything breaks right, and we don't see any silliness from the committee in the next couple of weeks, which I think we're going to get to in a few minutes here too.
Yes, I do. I'll put you in the chair here in a little bit, but we still got some stuff to tackle, of course.
We do, and we got to talk about, one of the biggest comebacks in college football history, at least recent history, that's for sure. Texas A&M 31, South Carolina 30. South Carolina had a 30-3 lead at halftime, John. Cockvember was in full effect in College Station with Marcel Reed playing one of the worst halves of football I think any of us have really ever seen. I want to make sure I get these right. He was 6 of 19, 2 interceptions, sacked a couple times in the first half, and then he bounces back with a second half for the ages as Texas A&M goes on a 28-0 run to close out this game here. Reed was 16 of 20 in the second half, 298 yards, 3 touchdowns. They are the first SEC team since 2004 to win after trailing by 27 or more points. Teams are now 286 in that situation following this win. Wow is the only way I can put this game and what happened there. I mean, you got the whole thing with Mike Elko and his contract extension and all that right before, and then they go out and lay the biggest egg possibly of the season in the first half, only to rebound and regroup and pull away and get that win and stay undefeated there after this game. And
you kind of it didn't like flash to me like on my radar, but like you did mention it on Thursday's show. You're like, this is a 19.5 point spread in South Carolina. They're not good, but they haven't gotten like rinsed by anybody yet in conference play. So like, there's something going on there. And then that first half happens. And, I'm sitting here at my computer. I got my TV. I got the quad box going. And I'm just like taking it in. I'm more so paying attention to your game. And then I see Marcel Reed get sacked, and a big man picks up the ball and rumbles into the end zone to make it 17-3. And I'm like, oh, so like this really might happen because like 10-3 in the first quarter, it's like A&M's off to a slow start. South Carolina will run out of gas, like whatever. But 17-3, I'm like, uh-oh. And then, 3 and out the next drive for A&M. And then, later on there's another interception. And then the big touchdown to Nick Harbor late in the first half. And you're like, oh man, like anyone who's been kind of waiting and like hovering over an A&M fraudulent take was just like over the moon at that point. But then A&M just nutted up in the second half in South Carolina. Shane Beamer, I just hope that you have a good realtor in Blacksburg, because if South Carolina has any self-respect, he's not coaching there next year. Yeah, I was going to say, was that like the final nail in the coffin there for Beamer? That was pretty bad. I think it's got to be like to do what they did in the first half and then to just undo all of that. That's so bad. Like you can't melt down like that. That's truly unbelievable stuff. And South Carolina now sitting at 3-7 with one conference win. I think that I think reaches like the territory where you're more than, especially after the expectations that they had coming into this year with Sellers and company. Like, dude, I think Sellers is going to be gone to another program, maybe like Miami next year. And there's Dylan Stewart's probably going to get a huge bag to go somewhere, a la Texas Tech with Romello Height and David Bailey. And there's just not going to be a whole lot to build around there in South Carolina. It's torn down to the studs, I think.
Yeah, and I think also too, like unfortunately for Beamer, like beating Clemson this year isn't going to have the same good vibes that it's had in years past too. Like that can't save you either, even if they pick up that win there in the Battle of the Palmetto State coming up in a few weeks there too. So it would not be surprising if that opening is there in South Carolina as well.
Did you see any of that Clemson game on Friday? That was a goofy one.
Yeah, bits and pieces. I mean, we talked about that line being funky, and that was another one we brought up there, too, and Clemson pulls out that win. Love those all-black Louisville jerseys, though, by the way.
Clean.
Those were sharp. Very, very sharp. And I know Dabo is doing his thing about the refs, too, over the weekend that he's been doing multiple times this season. All right, moving on. Let's keep going here at a nice quick pace. We got to talk about Ole Miss. What the hell? You texted me Saturday night, like, what is Lane doing? And, like, the only thing I could say, Ole Miss played with their food Saturday night. Like, I really don't know how else to break down this game. They go from up 10-0 to a total rock fight with a dead Florida team. Like, did they get bored and just want to prove, like, hey, we can handle adversity here? Like, questionable choices from Uncle Lane. Twice they turned it over on downs, down by the goal line on 4th and goal. Like, something was just up there. I don't know if there was the Florida distraction or whatnot, but they're lucky that they had Kwan Lacey on their team because he was awesome Saturday night. Ran for 224 yards and 3 touchdowns there. As Ole Miss, like, they do ultimately come up with a 10-point win, but, like, weird night in Oxford.
Really concerning, I think, because we're reaching that boiling point between these two programs when it comes to who's their coach. You know, Florida basically already says that Lane is their coach, and I'll get to that momentarily. But yeah, like I said, like last week or these last couple of weeks, like Lane could have put this all to bed by just signing an extension and just snuffing out the noise. But the noise continues to get louder. And you have a game against Florida, the job that he's rivaled to potentially be going to after this season, and it's just like what is going on? So like Ole Miss just seemed not very focused, and Lane, like, he can do these like plays near the goal line that are like so mind-blowingly good that you're just like, dude, he's the GOAT, he's the best. And then he can do ones like Austin Simmons takes the snap, pitches it 15 yards behind the line to Trinidad Chambliss, who's rolling out with like no field to throw to. It's like, what are you guys doing? Like, it was just, my attention was mostly on the Georgia game at that point, but I did have to like get the second screen going to monitor this Florida game because it was just really bizarre stuff from Ole Miss, and they ultimately got it done. Did not cover, however. And
no, they did not.
I just think that things are getting loud when it comes to Lane and his future in Oxford.
Yeah, like, I don't know what is up there. Like, what's going on with them? They got a couple more games here. The Egg Bowl coming up in a few weeks. Like, I don't know. Like, it's almost like, are they too comfortable? Are they like that? They're pretty much all but certain to be in the playoff right now. But like, you could trip up and miss the playoffs, Lane. Like, this happened a year ago to you. I don't know. Don't get too cute here, which is kind of just what it felt like they were doing on Saturday night, and it was just strange.
Yeah, I think that Egg Bowl, that's noon on Black Friday. I still think it's a travesty that it's not on Thanksgiving night.
I just found that out yesterday when looking ahead. I was just like, what the hell is this?
Yeah, so we're both mad about that. But that game, Miss State is frisky, if nothing else. Like, them in Arkansas are just like they're bad. Their record says they're bad, everything, but like they're a bit of live wire teams, both of them. But going back to the Florida stuff right now, when it comes to Lane Kiffin, I tweeted it out. Like, the way that Florida fans and media are tweeting right now, it's like indistinguishable from QAnon, where like they're just like, the storm is coming. That this guy Dan Thompson yeah, right. QAnon,
Floridanon.
So we're gonna workshop this. We're gonna get the branding on this correct. But Dan Thompson.
Oh no! Wait. Gatoranon.
There we go. I think that's
Gatoranon.
It. That's the
there.
ticket.
We go.
Gatoranon. Dan Thompson.
Who is G?
Yeah. Expect us. He tweets out, I think on Friday night, pay attention to your phones on Sunday. Have a great night. And then yesterday, late in the evening, as there's no hire made with Lane Kiffin to Florida, as of now, Sunday's news is no longer likely to happen. I know it sounds disappointing, but things happen in the business and timelines change. I do expect other dominoes to start falling as early as this week, however. So that literally reads like a QAnon tweet from a couple years ago. So that's where Florida's at mentally, and I think it's very funny.
It is pretty funny because I will say this, Florida fans, if you're watching, first off, thank you. Secondly, Lane's not going anywhere as long as they are in playoff contention. Like, you're not going to get the announcement until their season is done. Or
they thought he was going to be on the plane back with them.
Like, going back with them? I mean, with how he was calling some of those plays, it was almost like he was in the bag for him. But, yeah, anyways. We got to talk about what happened in Chestnut Hill, Massachusetts, a few miles from where I'm sitting right now. Georgia Tech 36, BC 34. The Yellow Jackets, John, they needed to overcome multiple fourth-quarter deficits to Boston College. One win, Boston College. Georgia Tech was off of a bye, by the way, going into this game. 16.5-point favorites. BC was leading for a good chunk of this game. I mean, I guess one simply does not walk into Chestnut Hill and pick up a simple victory, or an easy victory, I guess is what you can chalk this up to. But they allowed 527 yards to Boston College. I got big-time concerns about this defense. They're not winning the ACC. I'm just going to put that out there. They've allowed 82 points their last two games. As much as we love Haynes King, this defense is just absolutely falling apart.
Yeah, so like there's this weird tension between the record for Georgia Tech and where they rate in the metrics. Like the SP Plus has them 36th in the country, so like not even ranked. But as far as like their overall team ranking, and again, most of that has to do with the defense. They rank 63rd out of 134 teams on defense. So in terms of like other Power 4 teams, you're in the same neighborhood as Cal, Kansas, Miss State, Colorado, Duke, West Virginia, and UCLA. That's not the company that you want to keep. So basically it all hinges on Haynes King going hero mode, and that's gotten them here. I mean, they've had those moments, close calls against Colorado, Clemson, Wake, and now Boston College. Like, you have to kill them dead, like, no question. But, like, their defense is always going to put them in that spot, and you're going to run into teams the rest of the way here, whether it's Pitt, whether it's Georgia, and whoever you face off against in the ACC championship game, that that hero ball probably isn't going to be enough.
Yeah, so Georgia Tech can punch their ticket to Charlotte this weekend with a win over Pitt, but I don't know. Like Pitt, like you've called them a live wire here. They're going to be licking their wounds, ready to bounce back after that Notre Dame beatdown. That game's in Atlanta. Georgia Tech, though, just a 2.5-point favorite Saturday against Pittsburgh. Going to be a fun one there between those two teams.
I'm planning to go to the Georgia Charlotte game, which could be very exciting as well. But if I hang around, I have half a mind to get over to North Avenue and check that out.
Yeah, you might as well. I mean, 62.5, I think, is the total right now as of Monday. That might creep up a little bit more before we get to kickoff on Saturday.
I think so, man. That's going to be a really fun one.
So, an impressive comeback for USC this weekend, guys. Setting up a big-time showdown in Eugene this week against Oregon. Game day will be there. We'll preview that game in full on Thursday. But, John, I was really impressed with USC and the Trojans. And dare I say, a gutsy win from a Lincoln Riley team. I mean, they come back here in the rain. They go on a 19-0 run to close this thing out. Every time USC touched the ball in the second and third quarter, they scored. And then they clamped down on Iowa, which I know is not really that, like, you think that's not that tough to do, clamping down on Iowa's offense. But Iowa was moving the football in this game, and, like, everything with the elements and all that had set up nicely for them. Like, Iowa's second half drive chart, punt, interception, punt, turnover on downs. USC rattles off those 19 unanswered points to close this thing out and pick up the win. I was impressed by the Trojans this past week.
Yeah, no doubt. Like the way that the conditions went, you kind of figured like, oh, this could play into Iowa's style. But yeah, impressive stuff from USC to kind of play a game that they're not really, or we don't really attribute to them as far as like playing that style of like a low scoring win. They got it done. And shout out to Gronowski, who I think scored a touchdown in all three ways for
He's
Iowa.
a baller. He is an absolute baller, that's for sure. One more little. So the Big 12, the three big boys in the Big 12, Texas Tech, BYU, Utah, all just wiped the floor with their opponents this weekend. Texas Tech beats UCF 48-9. BYU beats TCU 44-13. Utah beats Baylor 55-28. The only thing I can say about any of those is that Baylor really has the worst defense I've ever seen. Like that was I kept just like going back and watching that one and just being like, oh my God, they don't want to tackle, like they don't want to cover, like Utah just goes down the field every single time. It was ridiculous. But all three of the Big 12 big boys take care of business.
Yeah, Burt Macklin, FBI. That dude, 6 carries for 166 and 2. All damn peers out there. I mean, yeah, I know that it's complicated. And again, there's going to be that pile of 10-2 teams, and for the purposes of the show, if nothing else, I want Notre Dame to get in, but I want to see Utah in the playoff. I do. I don't know if they're going to get there, but they're kind of badass. I don't know. I want to see one more swan song for old Kyle Whittingham, but again, BYU's taking care of business. Texas Tech is a lock, so it's going to take some stuff to happen. I think Alabama's going to need to recuse themselves for the conversation type of thing for Utah to sneak into the 11 spot, but they're doing their part as far as beating up on the teams that they should, but ultimately it's probably going to cost them that they lost the only 2 real opponents that they had on their schedule.
Yeah, I was diving a little more into that schedule. Where's Utah's really signature win?
They don't have one.
Yeah, the Arizona State game without Sam Leavitt.
Right.
You beat Jeff Sims. Great. Good for you guys.
Jeff Sims beats Jeff Sims. Come on.
True. I mean, you got pasted by Texas Tech on the road. You kind of played really stupidly against BYU, turning the ball over on downs 3 different times in BYU territory. And now you need BYU to lose this weekend to Cincinnati, and you want to talk about a team that the wheels have fallen off? Oof. Not looking good there. We were on Arizona. Arizona plus 6.5. They outright win that game. To Cincinnati, now it's Cincinnati needs to beat BYU for Utah, I think, to have a shot to get to the Big 12 championship game.
Yeah, and again, wheels coming off Cincinnati right now. I wouldn't hold your breath necessarily if I'm Utah in that sense, or at least hoping for a BYU slip up in this particular spot. Although it would mesh with my prediction that BYU does pick up multiple losses down the stretch, but doubt that it happens this weekend against Cincy, unfortunately. So my fanboyness for Utah will probably all be for naught, but I will continue to enjoy watching them just beat the crap out of teams the rest of the way.
Fair enough. So when we talk about playoff ramifications and what the committee is going to do here with 12 weeks, in the books at this point, we talked about how Alabama's probably going to fall to that 9 or 10 range. Other than that, anybody, any other movement here that you're expecting to see from the committee Tuesday night?
Right, so Bama's going to be 9 or 10, and I think BYU probably stays at 12, maybe moves up to 11. USF losing this weekend, that we got another shake. Say again?
Good night.
Yeah, so that's over, unfortunately, for them. So I still think whoever wins
JMU.
the AAC is going to do it. JMU possibly. I mean, they keep taking care of business. I think it's going to take a little bit more carnage at the top of the AAC in order for that to happen. I still think that the AAC gets the most respect from the committee. So it's going to take a couple more losses from the big teams there in order for it to really happen for JMU. I do want to ask you though, because we keep teasing the idea of this pile of 10-2 teams here. What's your concern if we get there and a bunch of the tickets have been punched for the 1 through 8 seeds, and then one of them is going to be reserved for the G5? Where are you when it comes to the potential of Miami and Notre Dame being on the same screen for the committee to break down?
So I'm glad we
got limited spots.
I'm glad you brought this up. I am praying and willing and trying to speak into existence Miami to win the ACC. It's going to take a lot of work, but my fear right now is that they're going to have Miami like 5-6 spots below Notre Dame this entire time, and then all of a sudden we're going to come to the Sunday after conference championship Saturday, and they're all of a sudden just going to flip-flop them. And they're going to be like head-to-head. They won head-to-head because, well, every other scenario that you've seen on this board, head-to-head matters to the committee except for the Notre Dame-Miami one, which, yes, it happened in week 1. Yes, it happened in the month of August. But it still happened this season, and like I can't sit here and like say, well, it shouldn't apply to the Irish. It absolutely should. Head-to-head should be the most important metric, I think, when it comes to these teams. Because, like, why are we playing football games if head-to-head doesn't matter here? As much as Miami can crap down their pants. So, like, I need Miami to win the ACC. I am begging Miami to win the ACC. I have drawn up the path here, John. I'm going to take us down the path. Okay, for Miami to do this. So obviously Miami needs to go 2-0 to win this, close out the season here. They need to beat Virginia Tech. They need to win at Pittsburgh. Okay, you need Virginia to beat Virginia Tech in week 14. I think that's doable.
Yep.
Okay, we're still cooking right now.
I'm with you.
You need Pitt to beat Georgia Tech as a 2.5-point underdog this weekend. I can see that happening. I don't think that's anything crazy there. You need Duke as a touchdown favorite to beat North Carolina this weekend. Seems expected at this point, right? And you need SMU to beat Louisville this weekend as well. SMU is favored by 3.5 against the Cardinals. So we're all good there through week 13. We need 2 other things to happen next week in week 14 for Miami to just get to the ACC championship game. We need Wake Forest to win on the road at Duke. I'm guessing that game's probably going to be a pick'em.
Yeah.
Maybe slight favorite Duke, maybe. I think, at this point. But Wake Forest has been very pesky this year, as we've seen. And then this is where this could all just crumble. We need Cal to beat SMU next week. In Cal, it's a road game. We've seen SMU be really weird on the road this year with that Wake Forest loss. We've also seen them beat Clemson. They have to go out to California there, but we need Cal to beat SMU as well. If all that happens, Miami gets into the ACC championship game, which I am just hoping to speak into existence at this point.
Well, there's one other thing that I think it sets up a simpler one. Impressive work laying the tracks there. If Miami loses to Pitt,
or that,
then you're good.
Yeah.
So there's either this one, I do love the idea of like it just being really neat and tidy one way or the other, where Miami just wins the ACC, and it's like, okay, like whoever won the ACC to begin with was going to be in. It's not really Notre Dame's problem. The problem is, of course, sitting there, and they're both 10-2, looking at large, bids, and therefore, like things could get a little bit tricky because the head-to-head does obviously matter. So we shall see how this plays out. I wouldn't be stunned. Again, I keep saying this, like probably beating a dead horse, but I think Pitt can absolutely beat Miami on Thanksgiving weekend. But I could also see the amount of carnage that you laid out there to help Miami get there. And I think if Miami does get there, the way that they're playing right now, like they probably will win the ACC. I would imagine. And
I'll just say too, from a viewing standpoint, I want to see Miami over any of those other ACC teams in the playoff as well. Yeah. Like, I don't want to see Virginia go get pasted. I don't want to see Georgia Tech go in and give up 50 points or whoever else, SMU. We've been there, done that. I'd rather see Miami in the playoff. I think that'd be much better just from a television standpoint too, going forward there.
Man, that game was a snoozer on Saturday. The wheels have really fallen off for NC State.
Oh, yeah.
That was so bad.
Oh, my God. Good. Shout out to you, though, dropping that 15.5 for
I was like, they're going to do it.
All right. We've kind of like weaved in Monday Cope, Monday Smoke throughout here, but do you want to do a quick recap? You got anybody else you want to talk about here as we kind of wrap things up?
Yeah, Texas, the way that they're coping, and again, straight from the horse's mouth or the cow's mouth, we weren't out-talented Saturday night. We were just out-coached. That's cope. That's like pure copium. So I'm enjoying that. Check out the timelines of any of the Texas folks that they are coping hard right now. It's a lot of fun. Bama, you still control your own destiny at the end of the day. You could theoretically get to beat Georgia again in the SEC championship game if A&M loses to Texas. So it's bad, obviously, losing to OU, but you just win the Iron Bowl. That feels great, and then you go to Atlanta, and everything is honky dory. And then Florida people, they're coping by just operating as if Lane is already their coach. He took it easy on Florida because he is going to be their coach. Everything like that. So that's how Florida people are coping. And again, I implore everyone to look at Florida people Twitter because it's really mind bending, and it won't get you put on a watch list like following QAnon people. So there you go. That's your proxy for that. Smoke. I just got the dogs, and I gave the Smoke pretty much the entirety of the Georgia-Texas breakdown. I will end it with this, though. Like the DeMello Jones, number 15 on the Georgia defense, basically like doing a WWE finishing move on Ryan Wingo. I talked about how tackling in space is going to be important. They try to get it out to him on the boundary on a screen. DeMello just puts him through the dirt. That's all the Smoke I need. We got to find that picture and put it up, maybe.
There you go. Very good. All right. So betting recap: 8-8. John,
Tough.
started off so good. I think we were like 5-1, through the early window, and then like Alabama doesn't come through for us. That was a 2-unit loss for us. The nightcap was bad. Texas couldn't do anything to get us to that over. Like Georgia had to do pretty much all the legwork by themselves. Virginia Tech can't hang on. UNC oddly making some very weird decisions in the fourth quarter where we could have gotten that one as well. So it was a tough end to what was shaping up to be a really nice day for us.
And what a little detail, I'm not sure if you're aware, but during the show on Thursday, I had talked myself into the Georgia over so much that I replaced Iowa plus 6.5 with the Georgia over. So on me.
That's tough. That is tough. But anyways, we do have some MACtion games coming up before we will talk again on Thursday. MACtion treated us very well last week, 2-0. Anything you want to throw out there for our MAC card here midweek?
We got to keep the MACtion rolling. I'm going to give out Miami of Ohio plus 2.5 at Buffalo. Weird number. It's on the road, but there's no real beauty queen in the MAC, and I'm not touching Ohio minus 30 or whatever against against UMass, although they certainly could cover that.
You might want to.
Yeah, I will just take the narrow loss for Miami of Ohio. Go Red Hawks.
All right, very good. I was looking at that one. I was also looking at Western Michigan minus 5.5. This line's come down a little bit. I think people are a little too high on Northern Illinois and how they looked offensively against just UMass is the laughingstock of FBS. They are so bad. They set off fire. If you haven't seen the clip yet, they set off fireworks when they kicked a field goal down 45-0 in the fourth quarter. UMass is brutal. I like Western Michigan. I think they have a chance to maybe clinch a spot in the MAC title game, I think, with a win. They're at the top of the standings, I believe. Last I checked. Yeah, they're 5-1 in conference here. They'd get to 6-1. Everybody else is 4-2. So I like Western Michigan to win this game by at least 6 points. So give me the Broncos minus 5.5.
Love that. Row the boat. Western was good to us last week. Let's see if we can get another one with them.
Very good. All right. I think that's going to do it for us. Just over an hour. Nice quick pace. We had a lot to get to this week. Just so much to talk about. We will be back on Thursday with our Week 13 preview show. A lot to talk about there as well. For John, I'm Dan. Hit that subscribe button, and thank you very much for watching or listening.